In 2015, the city of Raleigh purchased the site of North Carolina's first asylum, Dix Hospital, in hopes of turning it into one of the United States' largest urban parks. The site's 300-plus acres offer expansive space for play, learning,
but it's fascinating that grave was put in the 1940s.
Exercise, and other programs. As the park prepares for the future, it confronts its past.
The loving memory of my sister.
Yes.
Since 1856, the hospital helped the state's mentally ill, but for 150 years before then, it had been a plantation operated by enslaved Africans. Out of the exploration of this dark past emerges a story of resilience, hope, and family that stretches into the 21st century. The story begins here at the City of Raleigh Museum. In 2017, the research for an exhibit on the Dix Park site was funded by the community nonprofit, the Dix Park Conservancy, in order to explore and help the public understand the park's future and its past.
The Dix Park Conservancy has as its core a respect for the history that's represented on the site. Well, the story of the African American presence on the park will unfold. We know parts of it, and we'll try to be faithful to what we can learn.
When the City of Raleigh Museum began work on the Dorothea Dix Park exhibit, we wanted to make sure that we would be able to tell the future plans for the park, talk about the patient experience of those in the hospital, and the employees that took care of them. But in our research, we discovered that for a century before the hospital was built, had been the plantation of one of Raleigh's founding fathers, Colonel Theophilus Hunter.
Theophilus Hunter arrived in what was Johnston County in the 1750s and established a tavern, Hunter's Lodge. He served as Justice of the Peace, served during the American Revolution, and afterward helped to establish North Carolina's new capital, Raleigh, in 1792. But Hunter's prosperity was fueled by the enslaved men and women who worked his farm. While researching, Dollar made an incredible discovery. While looking at the 1870 federal census, the first that listed the formerly enslaved, he found a former slave with the name of Hunter. Dollar wondered if there was a connection to Theophilus Hunter and Dix Park.
Looking through the records, I wanted to see if any of the enslaved African Americans took the last name of Hunter after freedom. Going through the records, I discovered John Hunter, who had an incredible age, and I calculated he was born sometime in the 1760s. Now, thinking about all the things he had seen and done in his lifetime, I knew there was an incredible story here.
It was not until Dollar discovered the obituary for John Hunter in December of 1876 that the story of this man became more clear. The mentions of Uncle John in the newspaper provided the City of Raleigh Museum with critical information that revealed who the man was, the life he led, and most importantly, who his family was. Dollar and his team faced a unique opportunity and the difficult challenge with the incredible story of one of Raleigh's Black founding fathers.
Once we discovered the story of John Hunter and all he had seen and done at a time of incredible odds, we were very curious, could we do the impossible? Could we actually find some of his living descendants with us today?
One of the difficulties of pursuing African American genealogy is the fact that there aren't nice, clear-cut records to go to. But the value of doing African American genealogy is first and foremost the same value as with any other American. Secondly, it is knowing that before you, there were individuals who led ordinary lives, but they did extraordinary things. And getting to know that. Then there's the value of connection, knowing that you are connected not just to your immediate family, not just to your immediate community, but knowing that you are connected to a place and finding that place.
After months of searching historical records, John's family began to come into focus. John's daughter, Emmeline, married the Reverend Robert Lucas, a blacksmith and minister at St. Paul's African Methodist Episcopal Church. Their daughter, Narcissa, married Stuart Ellison. Ellison had been a carpenter as a slave and worked to build the insane asylum. After emancipation, he became one of the first African Americans to serve in the state legislature and became a builder of renown. One of his works was the church where he and his family worshiped, St. Paul's. Narcissa raised his 3 girls, Mary, Elizabeth, and Sophia. With each step and each new family member discovered, a picture of an incredible family emerged from the fog of time. A portrait of family descended from slaves who helped build, shape, and protect America. Veterans from the Spanish-American War and the Tuskegee Airmen, women who defined modern dance and broke glass ceilings on Wall Street, surveyors, politicians, and community leaders are all found in John's family tree. Eventually, the trail came to living descendants found in New York. The living legacy, 200 years in the making, was overwhelming news to a family who knew little of their connection to these roots.
I knew from my mom that we had history here. However, I never knew how rich it was, and being that our forefathers were so instrumental in the city of Raleigh of getting it established. I just was overcome with joy.
At first I was a little shocked, and then after we started making the phone calls and the connections and everything, I never, met any of these people from DC, so it was nice. I was excited to see them, to chat with them, to fellowship, to just, meet family that I was totally unaware of. My grandfather's side of the family, I have heard that he was from Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't have any other information on him other than he had family that was down in Washington, D.C., and that my aunts and uncles, his children, would go down and see the Washington, D.C. family during the summer months. But I did not know about his history from Raleigh, North Carolina at all.
In November of 2019, the City of Raleigh Museum invited the Hunter family to Raleigh to discover their lost history. Family members converged on the city from New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Charlotte to begin an amazing journey to meet their ancestors. But many who came had never met their cousins, while others renewed old family ties. The weekend in Raleigh would be a moving experience for all to reconnect with living relatives and learn about those in the past. The Hunter family's quest to rediscover their roots began with a trolley ride through Raleigh history and those places that could tell the story of how their family shaped North Carolina's capital. The first stop on the tour was the Spring Hill Plantation House, located just off Dix Park. Built around 1818 by the enslaved of Theophilus Hunter Jr., the home is the oldest connection to John Hunter.
Now, right around the house is where old Theophilus is buried.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of the oldest graves in Wake County. But it's fascinating, that grave was put in the 1940s, and all of his family graves are gone too. So the white hunters didn't survive the development of this place except for that grave, which was put in the 1940s. All right, now let's go see, I think it's Mount Hope next. We're coming up on Mount Hope Cemetery. This cemetery was founded in 1872. So we think about Uncle John dying in 1876, Stuart Ellison dying after that. We suspect they're all out here. They're all out here, but in unmarked graves. So we're going to take you to some of those graves that we know are related to the family. And again, there's a couple more out here that we can't find. So, I mean, this is another chance for us to, in the future, to canvass the cemetery, to actually mark these graves.
Oh. She just flipped it over, and on that side you see a name.
Wow.
Marshall. So it was flipped over and hit.
Yes, right here.
There's nothing like being refound by family.
So this is Sophia. Wow.
This is Sophia.
Wow.
And it looks like the plaque was put together by her sister because it said the loving memory of my sister.
Yes. Well, Netta, you got to come see this. This says Sophia Lee, and it says in loving memory of my sister. So who was the other sister?
There was Sophia.
Elizabeth, was it?
Yeah. There was Sophia, Elizabeth,
and Mary.
And Mary.
Mary. So
One of them.
Put that
Mary.
Wow, how beautiful.
My sister.
We'll
be back.
Right?
This trip exploring John Hunter has been very exciting, very educational. I'm happy that the invitation was extended to my family. The fact that John Hunter was so instrumental, John Hunter and Stuart Ellison were so instrumental in the foundation of Raleigh. Also, going to the Pope House, it played a part in finding that Dr. Manasseh Pope delivered our grandparents, our great-grandparents. This church that Stuart Ellison was part of the building of this building and what he did for the African Americans back there. Then there's John Hunter. Here was a man who in the 1800s was 100 years old and still giving back to the community and helping the community and helping the African Americans. It's been an awesome experience. Again, give thanks to the city of Raleigh for inviting us here. Thank you.